So we've learned that how to activate the debugger by specifying the line we want. Now we'll learn the commands that are used for debugging. The PDB debugger has a set of keywords that are used for debugging. So first such a command is where, or W is also acceptable. So we're going to type like this, where or W, which tells us the line, function, and module in which the debugger is activated. So it's so-called a stack trace. So we're going to run this test script again in our command prompt. So I opened the directory where this file is located. So what we're going to do, we're going to type in the script's name. So test.py is my script's name, and after that we're going to write a W, and then we're going to press enter, and then we get the, hold on a sec, yeah, so actually, whoops, my bad. So we just, after when we're in the TDB, I made a mistake, my apologies. So while we're in the debugger, we type in W. It's a debugging command, so yeah, there we go. So it indicates where we started. And we also have another useful command, which is list, and without parameters lists 5 lines of code. So list, it lists 5 lines of code before and after the line in which the debugger is activated. It is also possible to pass 2 integers separated by a comma. So we're going to have list, and then this is just an example, m, comma, n. Those are 2 numbers. If the numbers are in an increasing order, say 2, 3, the debugger will list the code from the line m to line n. If the numbers are in decreasing order, so like say 3, 2, then the debugger will list n lines of code starting with line m. So let's do an example. So here we're in the debugger. Let's start this over. So you can do run to restart it again, but for some reason it's not working. But anyway, we just run it again. Okay, now we're in the debugger again, and now we're going to write list, and then we're going to do, let's see. So we did list the first time. Now we're going to do 3 and 6. So it displays lines 3 to 6 in our code. And let's try now list 3, 2, and displayed from line 3 and up to 2 more lines after that. So moving on, we have 2 other commands for moving through the stack trace. Through the stack trace are up. So we have 2 of them. So we have up for moving through older procedure calls, and down for moving through newer procedure calls in the stack. So we're going to make a new piece of code. We're going to make something new. So exit this. All right. So we're out of that. So we're going to erase all this. We're going to make some new code that's going to be used for this these 2 up and down commands. So we have up and we have down, like that. You'll see how they work in the debugger. So let's make some new code. We're going to define a couple functions right here. So we're going to define function 1 with parameter a. So if a if it's a remainder of 2, we have remainder 2, then return true. And then else, this is just an example, so, and then return, if not, return false. And then we're going to have another function, so def font2, it's going to take an argument x, and then we're going to have if type of x if type of x is int, if type x is int, then we're going to start the debugger. So pdb set trace, and then we're going to print function 1 with argument x. If not, then we're going to have something else. We're going to see that in a sec. So if not, we're just going to print not defined. Alright. So and after that, we're going to call function 2 with argument 3. Alright, so we're going to now run this in our command prompt, so in the console. So we're going to do test.py. Okay, now we open the debugger. So now let's see. So now it's at this line, print fun1. So it's at the debugger started at that line. So now let's do up. And as you can see, it moved up. It went down to fun function 2 in the main. And so let's do down now. And it went back to print function with that first line. So what we can see here is that we can iterate through up into the oldest or the newest frames. So when we talk about frames, we can observe that term as a block of code, a function or a procedure that performs a certain task and contains its own domain, so to speak. That domain contains variables that are necessary for its use, and to check the values of those variables during the debugging, we can use the command args or just a. So let's do args. And there we go, we have our argument x equals 3 from this function 2 where x equals 3. So if we run the same script and then we do that, I actually just did that. So when we did that in our debugger, we did args, we got the value. So the values themselves can be printed out using commands p or pp. For some reason it's not working, but anyway. PP is used for formatting output of more complex statements, but since it doesn't work here, we won't demonstrate it really. But anyway, the real point I'm trying to make is here that we can actually change the values of certain arguments that are available in our program through the debugger. And that is done by doing the following. So we have an exclamation point. So first let's type in args again. So we have x equals 3. And we can change that value by using exclamation point before the argument's name, variable name. So exclamation point x equals 4 now. And then when we write args again, x is going to be 4. So the next couple commands we have are step, next, until, and return. So let's do that. Let's analyze these a little further inside this program, this script we already made. So let's type step. What step did, it continues the execution of the program until the next statement, which was this one right here, def function 1, because we went from the beginning. So actually, that's fine. Okay, so the next command, which we have, is similar to step, only it doesn't go into the body of the function that is being called. So actually, let's run step again. And it went into the next line of the code. So let's do next. As you can see, it moved all the way down to return false. And so what this shows us, instead of going to the next line, it goes to the next statement in the same block in which it currently resides. Excuse me. And then we have until. So this command is like next, except that it continues until the execution reaches a line in the code that is higher than the current value. And this is used mostly to skip loops in the program. So it went straight to return false again, because there was no loops. So and the last command we're going to talk about is return, which continues the execution until it runs into the return statement. So let's do return. So after that, let's do return again. and it went to function 2. Alright, so our previous commands are not so all these commands we just did are not that efficient when it comes to bigger programs. So for that reason we define breakpoints.